Imagine standing in your own kitchen, holding a stack of clean plates while the woman you love laughs outside in the garden. Imagine hearing her voice rise above the chatter, clear as ice, telling her friends that she has to be drunk just to sleep with you. That was my reality on a rainy Tuesday in Manchester. I did not scream. I did not break a single plate. I just stood there, listening to the echoing laughter of the people we had invited into our home, and realized my entire life was built on a lie. My name is David. I am a 34-year-old civil engineer. My world is usually defined by structure, concrete strength, and predictable math. I design drainage systems and rebuild failing roads for the city council. It is unglamorous, steady, and quiet. But that night, the structure collapsed. My fiancée, Chloe, is 32. She works in high-end real estate, navigating the fast-paced, loud, and competitive world of property listings. She's quick, sharp, and thrives on being the most dominant voice in any room. I always thought our differences balanced us out. I was the anchor, and she was the sail. What I did not realize was that she saw my quiet nature not as a strength, but as a target. 2 months ago, we hosted a small gathering for her work colleagues. The summer air was warm, and the back door was wide open. I was in the kitchen doing the dishes, giving them space to unwind. Then the conversation drifted to our upcoming wedding. A friend asked if she had cold feet. Chloe let out a sharp, dismissive laugh that cut straight through the screen door. She told them she did not even find me attractive unless she had a few drinks in her first. She called me pathetic. She said she needed a glass of wine or two just to tolerate my touch. And then came the final blow. She joked that at least my boring job paid the mortgage on the house she lived in. Her friends laughed. The sound of that collective amusement felt like physical weight. But I did not storm out. I did not cause a scene. Instead, I carefully finished drying the glass in my hand, placed it on the counter, and walked out into the garden with a calm smile. I sat right next to her. I acted completely normal, but inside my head, a massive, permanent shift had just occurred. That night, sleep never came. I lay awake in the dark, staring at the ceiling, but I was not crying. I was calculating. As a civil engineer, when a structure is compromised, you do not panic. You assess the load-bearing columns. The mortgage on our semi-detached home was entirely in my name. The Audi parked in the driveway, the one she drove to every single client viewing, was leased and registered to me. The heavy wedding deposits had been paid directly from my personal savings. By the time the sun began to filter through the blinds, I had mapped out every single administrative move. I knew exactly what had to be done. The next morning, she was standing by the stove, wearing one of my oversized hoodies, brewing coffee. She looked completely relaxed, as if she had not dismantled my dignity 12 hours prior. I poured myself a cup, looked her straight in the eyes, and asked a simple question. Why do you tell your friends you need to be drunk to sleep with me? The air in the kitchen instantly froze. She did not even deny it. Instead, she laughed it off, waving her hand as if dismissing a minor inconvenience. She told me I was taking it too literally. She called it girl talk. When I did not smile, her expression hardened. She told me that if I had more confidence, I wouldn't care so much. She said that maybe, if I weren't so dull, she wouldn't need a drink to make our lives interesting. That was not a defense. It was pure, layered contempt. I asked her one last time if she understood how unacceptable that was. She sighed, rolled her eyes, and told me I was being dramatic. She said I should focus on the fact that she was still here, planning a wedding with me. Still here. Those two words finalized everything. I looked at her and said, "The wedding is off. Not postponed. Cancelled." I told her I would never marry someone who publicly degrades me and then blames my insecurity for it. She thought I was bluffing. She told me to stop sulking and go to work. I did not raise my voice. I did not throw things. I simply told her she had 40 minutes to pack a suitcase and call a friend to pick her up. She could collect the rest of her belongings over the weekend, but she was no longer allowed to sleep under my roof. She went wild. She accused me of being a controlling monster. She said I was throwing away 4 years of history over a harmless joke. I looked at her calmly and said, "I am not throwing anything away. I am simply reacting to new data." Within an hour, her friend Megan arrived. I actually helped carry Chloe's heavy suitcase down the steps. I did not argue, I did not plead, and I did not look back. When the car pulled away, the house fell into a deep, profound silence. It did not feel empty. It felt clean. By noon, I had already contacted the wedding venue. Because we were still outside the immediate cancellation window, I managed to claw back 60% of our deposit. The photographer kept a non-refundable retainer, but I viewed that as a very cheap price to pay for my freedom. Then came the messages. Chloe started texting me, first with sheer disbelief, then with white-hot rage. She accused me of humiliating her in front of the vendors. I replied once, keeping it strictly professional. I told her I would not proceed with a marriage built on public disrespect. By the afternoon, her tone shifted to manipulation. She said every couple says terrible things and that I was overreacting. She threatened to tell everyone how insecure I was if I embarrassed her. That text alone confirmed I had made the absolute right choice. On Saturday, she returned for her things. I made sure I was home the entire time to ensure there were no false accusations about missing property. She packed her clothes, her makeup, and a few minor decorations. I did not fight her on anything small. It was not worth the friction. But then we reached the driveway. The Audi was sitting there, polished and bright. She reached for the keys, but I stepped in front of her. I told her the car was staying. Her face twisted in shock. I reminded her that the finance agreement, the insurance, and the registration were solely in my name. I had let her use it because we were building a future. That future no longer existed. She screamed that she needed it for her job, that she could not do property viewings without it. I told her she would have to find transportation the same way she would have if we had never met. She called me incredibly petty. I looked at her and said, "This is not petty. This is a clean asset separation." She left in a taxi, and for the first time in months, the heavy pressure on my chest vanished. The next week was a study in silence. I expected a massive dramatic storm, but Chloe chose a different route. She went for public optics. She began posting cryptic quotes online about weak men being intimidated by successful, independent women. She posted pictures of herself looking radiant at work events, trying to show the world she was unbothered. Meanwhile, mutual friends began reaching out. I did not play games. I did not embellish. When they asked what happened, I gave them the exact, unvarnished truth. She told her colleagues she had to be drunk to sleep with me, so I ended the engagement. The response was not what she expected. 2 of her close friends messaged me privately. They expressed shock that she had said something so vile, but confessed she had a habit of mocking me behind my back for years. That was the closure I needed. It was not a one-off mistake. It was a pattern of behavior. I adjusted to my new routine incredibly fast. Without her chaotic social schedule running my life, I found my focus again. I went back to the gym. I dedicated myself fully to my engineering projects. I even refinanced the Audi, cutting the monthly payments in half while I figured out whether to sell it. Meanwhile, Chloe was hitting reality hard. In real estate, if you do not have a car, you do not make sales. Within 10 days, she sent me a message asking to borrow the Audi temporarily. I declined. I kept it purely factual, explaining that the insurance liability was too high. Her tone shifted from sharp to desperate. She complained about living in Megan's cramped spare room. She said taxi fares were eating up her entire commission. She accused me of ruining her career over a simple joke. I did not reply. It was incredibly telling that throughout all of this, she never once offered a genuine, unconditional apology. There was no remorse, only complaints about her own inconvenience. That was the blueprint of what a marriage would have been. By the third week, her attempts to reach me became highly strategic. One day, she claimed she left crucial legal documents in my drawers. I checked, and they were not there. The next day, she sent an emotional email saying 4 years of love deserve more than a cold administrative shutdown. Then, she suggested couples counseling. I analyzed her messages the exact same way I analyze a contract variation at work. What is she asking for? What is my exposure? What precedent does this set? The answer was always the same. She was not sorry for hurting me. She was sorry she lost her security. One evening, she called me 6 times in rapid succession. When I did not answer, she sent a furious voice note accusing me of enjoying her suffering. She said I was punishing her. I replied with a single sentence. This is not a punishment. This is a consequence. I blocked her number immediately after. I blocked her on every social media platform. I sent one final email stating that any future communication regarding shared assets must be sent via email and kept strictly professional. Then I archived her folder. The piece that followed was entirely different. It was pure. I was no longer waiting for the phone to light up. I was finally free. My newfound focus paid off massively at work. I took charge of a massive stalled drainage redesign project that had been stuck in administrative limbo for a year. I stayed late, rebuilt the cost structures, and presented a flawless plan to the city directors. It was approved instantly. That success caught the attention of the executive board. Within 6 weeks, I was promoted to senior project lead, complete with a massive salary increase and a performance bonus structure. Momentum was finally on my side. Word travels fast in Manchester. Chloe soon heard about my success. The very next day, an email appeared in my inbox. Her tone was completely different. There was no sarcasm. She said she had made a terrible mistake. She claimed she was under immense pressure when she made those comments and that she was acting illegally. I did not respond. 2 days later, another email arrived. It was much longer. She confessed she was jealous of my stable income while she struggled with unstable commissions. She admitted she put me down to make herself feel superior. It was the first honest thing she had ever said to me. Then, she asked to meet up. She promised to apologize properly and even offered to stop drinking entirely. I read the email slowly and closed my laptop. Her sudden change of heart did not change what she had revealed about her character. It only proved that my stock had gone up and she wanted back in. I sent a brief, neutral reply. I thanked her for the apology, but stated I was not interested in rebuilding the relationship. She replied within an hour, completely unmasked. She admitted she had panicked when I blocked her. She confessed she had told her friends I would never actually leave because I was too predictable to disrupt my own comfortable life. That detail cut deeper than the original insult. She had not just disrespected me. She had calculated that I was too weak to do anything about it. Over the following weeks, her emails became frantic. Her short-term housing was falling apart. Her commissions had bottomed out because she could not easily access clients outside the city center. She was exhausted. She asked if she could move back into my spare room temporarily while she got back on her feet. She even offered to sign a formal tenancy agreement and pay rent. I replied with a final, solid no. Letting her back in would only blur the boundaries. Her urgency was entirely situational, not emotional. She did not want me. She wanted a landlord she could manipulate. I stopped replying entirely. I later learned through mutual friends that she was telling people she had ruined the best thing in her life. She admitted she completely underestimated me. As for me, the anger was entirely gone. It was replaced by an unshakable, steady resolve. The promotion went through officially, and I celebrated quietly with a few close colleagues. 2 months after the split, our paths crossed. It was a quiet Thursday evening. I had just finished a workout and stopped by a local supermarket near Deansgate to pick up some groceries. As I turned into the wine aisle, there she was. She saw me first. She looked exhausted, visibly worn down. We stood there in the heavy public silence. She approached me slowly. She told me she was planning to move back in with her parents outside the city to save money. She looked at me and said she had deeply underestimated the stability I provided. There it was again. Stability, provision, infrastructure. She did not miss me. She missed the platform I built for her. She admitted she liked the social power she felt when she belittled me in front of her friends. I let her speak. Then I looked her in the eyes and told her I believed her apology was real. But it did not change a thing. Respect is not something you get to bargain for after you throw it away. Once you show me that you view me as beneath you, there is no going back. She asked if we could start over, slowly. I told her no. I did not say it with anger. I said it as a simple structural fact. She nodded, finally understanding that her leverage was gone. We parted ways right there in the grocery aisle. I went home, cooked a quiet dinner, and felt a profound sense of completion. I did not feel victorious. I just felt whole. In the months that followed, my entire life shifted. I started saying no to things that did not serve me. I stopped over-explaining my choices at work. My teams respected me more because my boundaries were clear and unyielding. The project I pushed through is now in full swing, and my finances are stronger than ever. Chloe moved back with her parents. Her professional reputation took a hit as the truth of her comments circulated. Once people see your true pattern, you do not need to defend yourself. Gravity does the work for you. She sent one final email 3 months later, explaining she had started therapy and realized she used dominance as a shield for her own insecurities. I did not reply, but I respected her for finally telling the truth. I never wanted a revenge story. I did not want to watch her fall apart. But when you remove a safety net that someone has spent years abusing, reality takes over. Now my house is fully mine again. The silence is no longer heavy. It is peaceful. I turned the spare room into a beautiful home office. I sold the Audi, bought a practical car, and invested the rest. I am dating again, casually but with absolute clarity. If someone uses a joke to make me feel small, I do not laugh anymore. I observe. I do not hate Chloe. She is smart and capable, but she made the fatal mistake of confusing consistency with weakness and silence with submission. She assumed I would tolerate anything just to avoid chaos. She was wrong. Ending that engagement was not a temper tantrum. It was a structural correction. I did not lose a fiancé. I simply refused to spend the rest of my life being small.